Welcome once again to Boredom Sated. I am Michael,
And I'm Boris.
and today we're continuing our Dark Lords of the Domains of Ravenloft with someone from this desert sands of an Egyptian-inspired realm. We're talking about Ankapot. Now, Ankapot began life as a priest of Ra, and he was a pretty high-level priest as things go, but he was obsessed in life with immortality. You can understand something about this. In Egyptian-inspired religions, as such, immortality wasn't something you sought in when you were alive. You got immortality afterwards. That's what the whole afterlife was. That's immortality. That's
Right.
why they spent such a extravagance on mummifications and all the treasures and the slaves that were killed so that they would serve you in the afterlife. Ankapot had nothing, wanted immortality right now. So he started experimenting on his slaves. That sounds pretty bad, villainous to me. Uh,
Yeah,
but eventually,
I mean, the one thing I have to say is clearly the people who wrote The Mummy from the 1990s were big fans of D&D
yeah,
and big fans of Ankhtepot because he is the villain from The Mummy. Even his wife is Nefir, which
yeah,
is very close
there's
to.
definitely some similarities. Um, he was a high priest, and however, his unlike the Mummy movie, Imhotep, the villain of that, he's driven more out of love. He loves Anak Suleiman, and his whole
Right.
motivation is getting her back from the dead. This guy is not so much. He's more selfish in that regard. Um, he's out for himself initially, and he's trying to experiment to become mortal. That doesn't, as you might expect, that doesn't sit well with his god Ra, and he curses Ankapot with the death touch. He basically, even during his lifetime, he had like a variation of the mummy rot ability, which killed his wife and other people.
Yeah.
However, what Ankapot discovered was those people he killed, he could command. They could rise up as undead as well, and he can command them. And suddenly he started saying, "Oh, this is not so bad," and he starts killing people left, right, and center in order to create an army. One of his other motivations, other than the immortality, was to rule. He wanted to be a good ruler. However, since he wound up as a Dark Lord of the Domain, that didn't work out so well. So eventually, his followers, his other clerics, turned on him, mummified his ass, and the mists of Ravenloft scooped him up, and the domain of Harakir was born.
Yep. Now, um, the interesting part is him being a worshiper of Ra. Ra granted his wish.
Yes.
Ra said, very well, you want this. It's sort of really goes into the story of, don't you may
It was
not want what you wish for.
yes. Yes. Obviously. So, as a Lord of the Domain, we should probably done this um, from the previous video. Um, every Lord of the Domain can close their borders. Okay, in Ankapot's condition, present condition, he creates an impenetrable wall of heat. In previous editions, that meant that the first round you were in the desert trying to escape from him in his domain, you take a 1d10 points of damage. Second round, you take 2d10. Then the third round, you take 4, and then 8, then 16. And pretty much you would turn to ash unless you turn back. There's no saving throw to this. The saving throw is not going in. That's basically. You'll never escape. You'll be turned to ash well before you get anywhere. In Strahd's, sorry, probably should mention this. In Strahd von Zarevich's case, it's just a poisonous fog.
Right. But I mean, but everybody needs to remember with certain spells, you did get immunity, and as long as the spell lasted, you could last out there. But you had to make sure that the spell lasted long enough that you got out.
You're walking in the desert. Especially if you're in heavy armor, you're not getting very far.
Right.
But all right, so let's get
Right.
to how formidable a foe this guy is. So what's the art? If we're updating him to the fifth edition, okay?
Right.
Definitely the Mummy Lord works as a template for him with a couple of adjustments. It already has legendary actions, so legendary actions are very much in tune to the movie The Mummy,
Right.
in terms of him being able to use like a blasphemous word or whirlwind of sands, all sorts of neat tricks that the Mummy had in the movie. It also has the ability of a 10th level spellcaster and up to 6 level spell slots. For him, you might want to beef him up to 14th level, because that's what in the lore he's supposed to be around 14th level. So that would give him access to 8th levels? No, 7th level spells, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. So that give him an extra spell slot or two, and more powerful. But he's basically a cleric. And somehow he's still, even though he's trapped in Ravenloft, he's still granted his spells.
Well, it wouldn't be a curse. It wouldn't be a gift of a curse if he wasn't.
True enough. He also can command any undead in the realm, and he actually has a little cadre of his ex-priests and his wife and such. They're called the Children of Ankapot, and they're all greater mummies. He's actually attributed to be the one who created the greater mummies. And basically what greater mummies are is basically spellcasting mummies, which is as if they need to be more devastating. And they also hit a lot harder. They channel negative energy, and their mummy rot is more pronounced. In 5th edition, the mummy rot is part of the rotting fist attack. Let's see. You have to make a saving throw, DC 16 Constitution, or be hit with it, and you can't regain hit points. That could be rough. And your maximum hit points decreases by 3d6 every 24 hours that it elapses. However, there's a remove curse spell, you can get rid of it. So it's not at this level, it's not that bad.
And so the death touch really works well. You would have to add the extra template that if you're killed by his death touch, you can be animated and commanded by him, which this does not allow.
Yeah. The normal curse when you go to 0 hit points. So your maximum goes to 0 hit points after several days, I assume, of for some reason not removing curses. You turn to dust. In his case, it would be like you die and then be resurrected as, well, not resurrected, but raised as undead under his command, which is even worse.
Right. Right. Now, remember, he also had his gold Ankh that healed him continuously. So, I believe the Mummy Lord has fast healing, right? As long as, or regeneration.
He has, well, it's one of those things where if you kill him, he just keeps coming back.
Right.
Rejuvenation.
But this would grant him.
Oh,
this would grant him regeneration.
That would be extremely scary.
Yes.
He's about he's a CR 15, which seems about right for him.
Right.
He's up there, but he's not the most powerful Dark Lord.
No, I mean some of his. Some of the really devastating things that you would have to allow him. Ra being the god of light and goodness, and him still being a cleric, you might have to remove the weakness to good and all of those. So some of the weaknesses that the Mummy Lord has, you might have to remove just because he's still technically a worshiper of a good god.
Well, I think Ra's the one who cursed him in the first place. But
it's not a curse. It's not a curse. Ra, I mean, Rog just granted him what he wanted.
True. He's there is another part of the curse, other than the death touch. Um, his realm, just to taunt him, as the dark powers always like to taunt their dark lords. Um, he always wanted to be a good ruler, but Harakir is basically mostly desert. Other than his tombs, the only other thing there is a oasis and a small village. It's not the kingdom he wanted to rule. So he has an ability. That's just to mock him continuously whenever he wakes up. But there's a little proviso where he can perform a ritual, and it requires the sacrifice of somebody. It's human sacrifice, and for that day, he can become mortal. He can actually become mortal, but he loses all his powers. He just become a CR0, CR half, 0.5 human. That's it. He can eat, he can drink, whatever. If he's killed, he just comes back. But the point is,
right.
It's part of the thing where it gives him a taste of life again. However, once the day is over, he reverts back to his old self and goes back to suffering.
Right.
I love Ravenloft in that regard. That they torture the lords as much as they torture the players.
Right. It's definitely being doubly tortured. But hey, he wanted it. He was a favorite priest of Ra. Ra gave it to him.
Yeah, he definitely did. He definitely gave it to him.
I mean, I know he's just interesting because he was in line with the Mummy and we did it. But in my view, other than being very close to the Mummy, his realm and he himself is okay. I mean, there's other lords I think that are a little bit more unique, a little bit more interesting in role playing, but he's definitely related in a pop cultural way because of the movies The Mummy.
He's if you notice, a lot of the Ravenloft villains, Dark Lords, are taken from anywhere from medieval times to the whole Gothic era, Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, Dracula, werewolf, whatever else. And he is one of the ones that are, I believe, initially popularized by like the movie The Mummy, the original Mummy, and I think Boris was that one, and Christopher Lee was in one of those as well.
Right.
And ultimately, it's supposed to be a tragic villain, definitely driven by very human motives. But this guy, I have to say, his backstory is kind of it's very hard to feel anything for him, really. I don't feel sorry for him whatsoever. He wanted to be immortal. He did terrible things to his slaves in order to get immortality. He didn't get immortality. Ra said, all right, you know what, you're being a schmuck. Here, you want immortality? I'm going to give you something, a semblance of it. And then he was trapped in Ravenloft, and that's it. He wasn't motivated by love. He wasn't motivated by, there wasn't some tragedy involved. He just did it because he didn't even show any affection for his wife, really. She just became another one of his minions. Yep. He didn't say, oh my god, what have I done, type of thing. He just, maybe they didn't flesh out the story enough. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, they didn't. It just reminds me of another tragic, sort of villainous Midas, who also had a touch. But he was redeemed by
he
it.
regretted his.
Whereas,
he regretted it. But this guy doesn't have no redeeming.
No redeeming qualities. Even Strahd, you feel a little bit for him because he lost his true love.
Yeah.
And but here you just like, there is, you got greedy and you got punished for it and you deserved it, and even after you got punished, you didn't learn from it.
Yeah, it's just one of those. He's just a bad guy. He's a little two-dimensional bad guy. He's just like, all right, he did bad things, he got punished, and that's it. Yeah. So that's Ankapot. As a side note, he was there was in the old company. I don't think they exist anymore. SSI, Strategic Simulations Incorporated, I think. They made a lot of D&D TSR games in the old days, and the Ravenloft line they made at least two, and the second one is called Stone Prophet, was based on in Harakir with Ankapot as the main bad guy. And I saw, if you watch any of those walkthroughs, they can be pretty brutal. There's a lot of death going on there. But yeah, he was popular enough that they tried something different, because the first one was Strahd's Possession, which is you get to face Strahd. Well, in Strahd, go to Castle Ravenloft and fight.
Right.
Those are really rough. Strahd's vampires, zombies, and zombie golems are no joke. They are more powerful than regular versions, and they really met off some punishment.
Yeah. But here's another Lord. So please subscribe, like, give us comments. Let us know which villain you'd like to us to do next. With the Ravenloft 5th edition book coming out May 18th, we will definitely be doing a review of that. I really hope they do all the interesting stuff that Ravenloft really made it much better in 3.5 and 2nd edition. Yeah. So anyway, I'm Boris from Boredom Sated.
I'm Michael from Boredom Sated.
Enjoy your day.